I thought we were brothers.
Smithy said. The line went quiet. The man who betrayed him wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a rival. It wasn't even an enemy. It was the man he once called brother. By the time the accusations appeared online, most people thought the friendship had just fallen apart. They were wrong. The truth was that it had been dying for months, slowly, quietly, one moment at a time. Nobody saw it happen. Not the audience, not the team, not even Smithy. By the time he finally understood what was happening, it was already too late. Years before the drama, Smithy was just a man with a smartphone. No expensive camera, no production crew, no sponsors, just a dream. Every day, he filmed life in Portland. The food, the people, the culture. He shared videos of himself cooking, capturing the countryside's beauty and flavor. To most people, they were ordinary moments. To Smithy, they were worth sharing. Most people saw nothing special in those videos. Smithy saw a future. At first, people laughed. Nobody is going to watch that. Others mocked him. Idiot. Go find something better to do. But Smithy kept going. One video became 10. 10 became 100. Then something changed. People started watching. The audience grew. The channel grew. The opportunities grew. And as his success grew, so did the number of people around him. One man, Nigel, became closer than all the others. When they first met, life was not easy for him. Nigel was struggling, trying to find direction and trying to find an opportunity. Smithy saw potential in him, so he helped. He shared knowledge. He shared opportunities. He shared his platform. Most importantly, he shared his trust. Smithy and Nigel's friendship grew quickly. Viewers loved them together. Everywhere they went, people called them brothers. And for a long time, that was exactly what they felt like. Then came the first moment, a moment so small that neither man understood its importance. At the time, they were filming a cooking video by the beach when a subscriber approached. Excited, smiling. "Can I get a picture?" Smithy looked up from the dough he was kneading. "Of course," he said. The subscriber took several photos, thanked him, and walked away. The two men continued cooking. A minute later, Nigel spoke. "Must be nice being the star of the show." Smithy laughed. "Why do you say that?" "Everybody loves you," Nigel muttered. Smithy looked up from the steaming pot he was stirring. "You'll get there." Nigel nodded. "Maybe," he said under his breath. For a second, his smile disappeared. It returned so quickly that nobody noticed. Nobody except the camera. The conversation ended, but something about it felt strange. Not enough to worry about, just enough to remember. Months passed. The channel continued to grow. Smithy not only shared his platform, but also encouraged every member of his team to start a channel of their own. He bought filming equipment for each teammate. He coached them, promoted their content, and encouraged his subscribers to support their channels. As those channels quickly became monetized, each person began earning money for themselves. Yet Smithy still paid them for their contributions to the main channel. Smithy built houses, bought cars, and even took teammates on adventures overseas. For many of them, owning a passport had never even crossed their minds. Flying on an airplane had been nothing more than a distant dream. Through the platform they built together, opportunities appeared that neither of them had imagined. Once unknown, Smithy helped transform the guys into YouTubers with global audiences of their own. But as the success grew, so did the criticism. A few mischievous people began drawing comparisons, questioning who deserved more credit, who worked harder, who contributed more. Most of the team ignored the noise, except for one person, Nigel. He began watching the numbers, the subscriber counts, the opportunities, the money. Smithy's personal business ventures, the recognition Smithy continued to receive. One evening, the team gathered beneath a tree to discuss plans. Everyone seemed excited. Ideas were flying. People were talking over each other, laughing, dreaming, except for one person. Nigel. He sat on a bucket, staring at the ground. The man who usually had plenty to say seemed strangely distant. The others noticed. "Why are you so quiet?" one of them asked. Nigel looked up and forced a smile. "I'm listening." Another team member wasn't convinced. "No, seriously," he said. "You're acting as if somebody offended you." Everyone laughed, everyone except Nigel. Then he said something that immediately changed the atmosphere. "Why should we all contribute when all the glory goes to one person?" Silence. Nobody knew how to respond. The laughter vanished. A few of the guys exchanged glances. It sounded less like a joke than a complaint he had been carrying for a long time. Smithy finally spoke. "What are you talking about?" Nigel smiled. "Bro, don't take this the wrong way." But something felt off. And because he wasn't one for unnecessary drama, Smithy chose not to press further. He continued the meeting as if nothing had happened. Nobody mentioned Nigel's comment again, yet everyone remembered it. Weeks later, a team member approached Smithy in private. The conversation lasted a few minutes, but he would never forget it. "I need to tell you something," he muttered, glancing over his shoulder. Smithy's eyes met his. "What?" The young man hesitated. "First of all, respect where respect is due. You built this platform. You didn't need any of us to get where you are. We needed you, yet you brought us in, shared the opportunities, and allowed us to eat from the fruit of your labor. For that, all of us should be grateful." Smithy nodded. "I appreciate that." The young man's expression turned serious. "And that's why it hurts me to see Nigel acting ungrateful." Smithy immediately shook his head. "Come on, bro," he replied. "Bossy, I'm serious," the young man said. "That's my brother," Smithy replied firmly. The team member held his gaze. Sometimes loyalty makes people defend a friend long after the evidence has begun to speak for itself. "No." A pause. "That's what you call him, brother," the young man continued. "But he's calling you something else when you're not around." Smithy brushed the warning aside. He refused to believe it. Life moved on. The friendship continued. The channel continued to grow. One afternoon, Smithy received an unexpected call from a mutual acquaintance. "Smithy," she said, "I'm not a hypocrite, so I have to tell you something." "What is it?" Smithy asked. "You need to be careful of that so-called friend of yours." "Which friend?" "Nigel," she replied without hesitation. "That brother is not who you think he is. He's smiling in your face while trying to poison people's minds against you behind your back. A real snake in the grass." Smithy frowned. "What makes you say that?" She let out a loud breath. "He's trying to get with me even though he knows I like you. So he tried to make you look bad to make himself look good. At length, the guy revealed your secrets and slandered you." Smithy remained silent. The accusation felt impossible to believe. "Oh my God, I could hardly believe what I was hearing," she continued. "But the more he talked, the clearer it became. There's something inside him that isn't right. Bad mind, jealousy, maybe even bitterness." "For real?" Smithy asked in disbelief. "Yes," she replied. "A bad-minded and dirty-hearted friend can be more dangerous than your worst enemy. An envious person like that is a potential friend killer." Smithy listened in disbelief. His best friend was a green-eyed backstabber. No, that couldn't be true. "I hope you don't wait until it's too late before you open your eyes and see him for who he really is," she warned before ending the call. From that day forward, Smithy started noticing things. Little things, things he had ignored before because they were easier to excuse than confront. Loyalty has a way of blinding people, especially when the person beside you feels like family. Then came the morning when everything changed. Smithy's phone would not stop vibrating. Messages, calls, notifications, one after another, all asking the same question. "Have you seen it?" Smithy's mind raced as he opened YouTube, and there it was. A video from Nigel, then another, then another. The same person he once trusted with his secrets was now turning those secrets into content. With each video, the accusations became more personal, more damaging, more difficult to ignore. Nigel was no longer criticizing decisions or disagreements. He was attacking Smithy's character, his image, his reputation, his private life. Topics that had never been meant for public discussion were suddenly being dragged into the spotlight. Personal allegations, intimate details, claims that only someone close to him could make. And that was what made it so powerful. People listened because the words were coming from someone who had once stood beside him, someone who had shared a close kinship with him, traveled with him, laughed with him, someone he had called brother. To outsiders, that closeness made the accusations sound believable. Whether they were true or not almost became secondary. The damage came from the fact that they were actually being said. And as the videos spread, so did the speculation, the questions, the rumors, the judgment. For Smithy, the hardest part was not what was being said. It was who was saying it. For several minutes, he simply stared at the screen. His mind drifted through old memories, the laughter, the conversations, the promises, one promise in particular. He remembered taking Nigel overseas for the first time, helping him build a life he had once only dreamed about, handing him the keys to a brand new car, watching the disbelief on his face. And then he remembered what Nigel had said. "Brother, I will never forget all you've done for me. You've changed my life in ways I could never imagine. You've carried me places I never dreamed of going. Everything I have now I owe, in large part, to you. You mad, brother. I could never be a traitor. I could never betray you." At the time, Smithy believed every word. Now those words felt different. Very different. Days passed. The situation grew worse. Subscribers chose sides. Arguments spread across social media. People demanded answers, and years of brotherhood fell apart in public. Eventually, after days of silence, Smithy reached out. Not online, not through posts, not through a video, directly. The conversation was brief, painfully brief. Smithy asked only one question. He wanted to understand why someone he trusted had turned against him. The response offered little comfort. "Tell me honestly," Smithy said. "Why are you slandering me online?" Silence. Then, "What?" Nigel snapped. "Is that really why you called me?" "Cut the attitude," Smithy replied. "I thought we were brothers." The line went quiet. Smithy already knew the friendship was broken. What he didn't know was whether any of it had been real. What followed was not a reconciliation. It was a revelation. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then came the answer. "I guess we weren't," Nigel said. "How could we be?" Tsk! A sharp hiss escaped through his teeth. Then he hung up on Smithy. Smithy closed his eyes. For the first time, he saw how differently the two men had viewed their relationship. The bond he had treated as brotherhood had never been seen the same way on the other side. And in that moment, he finally understood what everyone else had been trying to tell him. The signs had been there all along. He just never wanted to believe them. The friendship hadn't died overnight. It had been dying slowly for months. Only now did Smithy realize it. The tragedy wasn't that an enemy had turned against him. The tragedy was that the betrayal came from someone he had loved like family. Someone he had trusted, someone he had helped, someone he never imagined would become the source of so much pain. Weeks turned into months. The controversy faded, the arguments faded, the noise faded, but Smithy remained. Smithy kept building, kept creating, kept growing. Nigel believed that bringing Smithy down would lift him up. It didn't. The attention he gained from the fallout was temporary. The damage he did to his reputation wasn't. Viewers who came for the controversy eventually left with it. The momentum disappeared. The excitement faded. And the channel that once seemed full of promise became overshadowed by the very conflict that had made it relevant. While Smithy became known for the bridges he built, Nigel became known for the bridges he burned. The most painful betrayals are not the ones that come from strangers. They're the ones that come from people you once called friends. If you enjoyed this story by Troy Mackenzie, don't just like, subscribe, and comment. Share it. That's how word, sound, and story reaches further and grows stronger. I appreciate your support.